This video is going to be about a topic that comes up quite often. Another fish keeper I know recently and unfortunately had a crossbar failure on a large tank. I think it was a 200 plus gallon tank. And well, we all know the more water, the more weight, and the top edge of the bigger your tank, the top edge has a lot of bowing, a lot of pressure pushing out on the center, and it's not like the old days. The old days, they used to make the tanks with really thick glass. Like, this is still an old tank, but that glass is thin now. And as time goes on, they got thinner with the glass and started building up the plastic corners to deal with it and the cross braces. But of course, they made the cross brace as cheap as they could, just strong enough, and they did the job for maybe 10 years or 15 years. Some people are running 20-year-old tanks like this one. And that's why mine's broken, right? So we all know what happens to plastic over time. It sort of loses its structural integrity and it becomes brittle. You want to see that sped up, go and stick it out in the sun, right? A piece of plastic in the sun, it'll fade, it'll crack, you'll pick it up, and maybe it was once pliable and now it'll snap because it's all dried out. And that's basically what happens to your center bar. And you got to remember, you're putting big old lights up there. Some of them have UV in them, just a small minor amount, to help your plants grow, and that UV is going to break down that center bar, so eventually you get a failure. Also heat. Heat can cause a failure, and there is the option of welding it back together, but if heat was your issue in the first place and you weld it back together, then the weld might not work if you're running really hot lights, and it may pop on you. And if it pops suddenly, then the corners of your tank are going to take a hard jerk, and you'll pop a seal and you'll get a leak. And excuse me, that seems to be the way it goes down. So when I ran into this problem, I had just gotten this tank, and I think, because it had gotten moved around and stuff, but mine popped, and it didn't break entirely, thank God. It just started to separate. So I drained her down, and I only had the one tank, and I had to come up with a solution. And I was thinking about the welding thing, and there are videos with it, but they're doing it on like 50-gallon tanks and stuff, right? It's half the weight that's in here, and because I only have the one tank, I can't really deal with popping seams. All my fish would have died. So I had to do something that I felt would not fail, and overbuild it. And this canopy that's on top of my tank is kind of the solution I had to come up with because of the way that I dealt with this problem. But overall, it's a really cheap solution. A couple pieces of scrap 2x4, cut into 3 pieces, shaped like an H when I put them together, and I'll show you how I did that. And then you drain the tank, you measure out your cuts so that this H fits over the center bar, not snug to the point of flexing your tank inwards, and not too loose that it's not like touching at all. It's got to be touching. You feel it slide on, but you're not forcing it on in any way, shape, or form. And you got to get this measurement right. And then when you put it on, it's sitting there. When my tank's empty, I can lift it right off, no problem. When my tank's full, the pressure holds it in place really well. So if I went up and tried to kick it off, it probably would come off, and then my seams would pop because my tank would instantly bow, but I'm never going to do that, and I would literally have to kick it while the tank's full to pull that off. So it's not like it would happen easily by accident if I leaned on something. No, it's when the tank's full, it's snug as a bug. So let me show you how that works. I've seen a lot of other people use other solutions. Of course, the best thing to do is to find a new rim that fits your tank. I believe this tank manufacturer, I don't even know who it is. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't know where to begin, and I don't have a lot of options in town for that sort of thing. And I wouldn't want to order it on the internet either, because chances are it would show up and not be the right one. I'm not rich enough to deal with that shit. So I had to come up with my own quick solution, and this is what I did. So first of all, these covers, I've said it before in other videos, but I made it out of this foam stuff, okay? And then I just bought some wood that sort of looked like it was close enough to my stand. And again, that's a roll of the dice, because the pictures aren't always the same, as you can see, but it was close enough. And I just wrapped the foam with that to make it have a wooden look. And this serves two purposes: hide the ugliness of my brace, and B, in the wintertime, this keeps the tank nice and warm, because I live in a cold environment, so it traps the heat, and my heaters don't turn on very often, so that saves me money. And this was just scrap foam that I'd found, so I spent like $10 or $15 on the Mylar wrap, and old roll of boxing tape to get everything formed up underneath, and then taped it over with the Mylar. Done and done. And it works like a charm, keeps the tank warm. I actually have to take it off in the heat wave days, because it'll cause the tank to overheat. But in the winter, this is awesome, especially if you've got fish like these that need to stay warm. So it worked out in the end, Adapt, overcome. So here's the part of the H sticking out over the front edge. You can see there's actually some screws coming this way too, and I taped over it to keep the water off. This is packing tape. It's a pretty good one, and it sticks real good. So I just covered the wood with it to help it not rot and keep it dry. So it's all together. I popped these open just to make sure these were staying tight after about 6 months, because wood does under pressure crush at a microscopic scale, and over time my gap did open up a tiny bit, but it's not enough to pop my seams or cause me any issues. In fact, the plastic probably would have done something close to this anyway. So here's after basically a year of running this wood. And there is a bit of a bow. This only shows up in the front. The back is intact. But that's not enough. The glass, that's within tolerance. Like, the glass will handle that. And the silicone shouldn't pop from, that shouldn't be enough to pop nothing, so I haven't worried about it. Everything's been fine. When I do empty the tank, that crack closes close to half the distance you see there. So it never closes entirely anyway, even when the tank's empty. And you don't want to push and screw it in until it is closed, because then your tank will be bowing inwards, and then you'll add pressure, and you want this glass to sit as straight as you can, and this is probably it right here, to be honest. So underneath, this might get a little wonky with the camera and the light. I don't really want to turn the light off. Let's hope it gets better here. Maybe I can just, I'll just use my shutter to deal with that 1 second. I'll turn that way down. Okay, so here you got the 2x4 thing. Now you can see I stood this one up on end. Then I put this one sideways, right? And it's only sitting up. It's only sitting halfway up no, we got lighting issues there. So, this 2x4 is only sitting here, like this, right? I got screws in here and I got screws in here, pulling it all together, and you know, just screws coming from all over the place. But make sure wherever you put them, they're not going to be anywhere near where the glass or the plastic is. You don't want screw pressure touching glass, things will break. So all these screws are above the glass line here, and you want to make sure that's what you're doing. Really, it doesn't take a lot of screws, but I like to make sure that I'm accounting for a possible screw failure or something along that line. So I always put too many. It's never a bad idea to use too many nails or screws. Now, I've seen other people do this with like steel and stuff, and what they do is they just make one strip, and then they like of steel, and they got like a steel shot, and they bend it down. Or I've seen people sort of do that with plastic, where they just make a strip here. So there's no long extension here. It's just like a U, like a U joint, or trying to think of another name of a U clamp. But the problem with that is, okay, you're still open to the possibility that you're going to bow out a little bit right here, and you're going to bow out a little bit right here. So you kind of have a wavy tank. And the relationship between the rim and this short thing that they've made here isn't what they think it is. So that's what's going to happen, is they're going to get a slight bow here. They might not see it, and they're also, then it's going to get pulled in the middle, and they're going to get a slight bow here. That sort of wavy glass situation could cause a tank explosion, could cause a crack to form on the affected panel. So to distribute the weight evenly, I figured the best thing to do would be, although I lose kind of like hang on back space and stuff because of this, and I had to get creative after that as well, it was better to extend these out long till I get to the halfway point of where I expected a bow would occur if I just did this. Okay, so now a bow can't occur. The glass is too short here for it to bow, and this is holding it straight all the way across, and then this section is too short to bow. But if I had just done this, then this piece of glass from this side over is big enough to bow here, and it's big enough to bow here. So that's why I built it like this. Now it looks freaking ratchet. I'm not gonna say. I actually ran my tank like this before I built my hood, because it was summer and I wasn't having a problem staying warm, and I was just running it like this. And I had a crappier light on top. You know, like this tank's been has changed a lot in the last year as I've slowly built it up and improved my methods and equipment. But so of course then I had another problem. Now I got this T in the middle, and I went to go put my light back on, and it was going like this, right? Because this is taller than the glass. And when I put the glass in, I have to lift this side up, this side out, and slide it out. And then when I put it in, I have to like slide it into the plastic cross beam still under there, and the glass still sits on it. So unless this breaks, I'm still using it to hold the glass, and it does that just fine. But yeah, so I have to get the light over the glass. So I just cut another couple pieces of 2x4. I sit them on the glass, and I made it a little bit long so I can move my light around. And then I just put a little foam here so that there's grip on my light, and it's not just a light sitting on 2x4. This foam is made fire retardant. It's made, so to prevent your home from burning down. So putting this light on the foam is better than putting the light on the wood, should there be a heat issue. Also adding the foam gave me a nice gap here, so I don't get a heat issue again with the wood. I can fit my fingers under there, and so on. So then I had, I couldn't use the larger size hang on back because now I can't hang it, right? Because I have all this unavailable real estate back there. And I can't hang nothing here because there's the outflow pipe down to the sump. So I had to put this one up here and just buy two. Honestly though, buying two of these is only a little bit more expensive than buying the big model and running two separate ones, because I did buy a big model downstairs. I wanted to see what it was about, and I wish I had just bought two of these for downstairs as well. It's way better to run two of these. I think these ones go up to 65 gallon. It's better to run two of these than one of the big ones that goes up to, I think it's 80 gallons. Because like I got directional flow coming this way. I got directional flow going that way. I kind of like that, even though this isn't aesthetically pleasing. That directional flow is pushing everything straight towards my sump intake. It also gives me a circulation on top of the water like this, and then I've of course got the power heads off of those two filters in each corner, adding to the vortex. That's keeping everything up off the ground into my filters and so on and so forth. But you know, it presented challenges, but it really, I just worked around them all, because the solution of just doing this in the middle would have, of course, left my real estate open, but it probably still pop your damn seams, given enough time. I do not believe my seams are going to pop with this, and that silicone's old, so I can't be playing games. That's original 20-year-old silicone in this tank. So I had to make sure it was going to be square and perfectly measured and you know, supportive. And I had nothing on hand. I don't have like a steel shop in my basement. All my tools are wood tools, and so yeah, scrap wood. It really cost me nothing. It just cost me a few screws that I already had anyway. But I value screws. I don't really value the wood, because although wood is expensive, it was just easy for me to acquire. I can find it easy, like scrap pieces, big enough to do things like this, no problem. You can find that easy for free, at least I can. So this was my, you know, do it yourself, save as much money as possible, get the job done right, and then of course there is the ugliness factor. Now, I didn't care about the ugliness factor because I just, practical use was all I was after originally. But after a while, looking at this started to bother me. And I was like, I don't like seeing it like this. And winter was coming, and I knew I need to do a better job with maintaining heat. So we made this thing, and it goes on nice and easy. Just take it up here. We just fit it into place. Nice and slow, because it's, you know, made to fit. It has to be in the right spot, which it is. And I just check all that, make sure she's square. Feels like it is. Looks like it is. And I grab this piece here, and I just place it like that. And it won't go nowhere. And then when you stand back, there's your result, right? So, not bad for a guy with no money that has to make his tank work with what he's got laying around. And that's what this is. And I actually like it. People come in and they think that I bought it like that. Like friends and stuff, they come in the house, they don't realize it's actually not wood at a glance, unless they really start touching and looking. Yeah. And I say nothing. I just let them I just let them see it, and it's always, wow, nice tank. And I was like, it's a tank no one will buy because it's even got a crack in the glass near the intake. But that crack's been there for 20 years, and it's in a spot where it's not an issue, and I've got it siliconed up on both sides just in case. And I watch it every time I do a water change because there's always glass flexing in a water change, right? So, and I have the crack marked. I know where it is, and it just doesn't move. So I was concerned. It is a weak spot in the tank, but so is the hole that's drilled in it, no differently, right? So, like I said, that crack appeared when they drilled that hole, and the PVC in that hole is as old as the sticker on the bottom of the tank manufacture dates. So that crack's sat there for over 20 years, and this tank has always been full of water that entire time. So I'm not going to worry about it. And happens to us all. Sometimes something fails and you get water on the floor. You know what I mean? But you work with what you can get. And if I had to buy all new tanks, I simply wouldn't have fish right now. I couldn't do it. So there it is. That's how I dealt with the broken crossbar. A lot of people throw out tanks. A lot of people are lucky enough that they can get a replacement plastic bracket, which is, if you can get the exact one for your tank, the best solution. But I don't think I can do that. Like, there's different glass thicknesses and everything, and if you're off by a little bit, it has to be the exact right one to do it that way if you're going to pull the rim. And if you pull your old rim and then find out the new one isn't the right fit, you're kind of in a situation at that point. So, and that's the sort of situation I would likely end up in. I don't have like a pet shop that bends over backwards for people when it comes to that sort of thing. They have tanks on display. They want to, yeah. No more. There's no like good big mom and pops left in my city, and we really only got chain stores left. So it's chain store style service, and that's all I can. That's all I can do. If I wanted something like that, I'd have to order out, and it doesn't always go well. I bought a lid downstairs. It was supposed to be the right size for my 75 gallon, and it was actually just a few millimeters off. Like not even half a centimeter, but that was enough that if I didn't modify the frame of the upper frame on my tank to accommodate for that missing glass, those lids would fall in. So, but I MacGyvered my way past that one because, you know, mailing back glass isn't necessarily something I wanted to do either. I don't know. I knew I could make it work, so I didn't want to go through it, and I adapted. Adapt and overcome. It's what we do. We're human beings. This is my tank. That was my crossbeam, and I'm happy to have shared the way I did it with you. I hope it helps someone in the future that's considering different ways to get past this problem in a low cost and effective manner. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.